Yes. And you wrote this book, Build an Empire, which is one of my favorite books. And I love that you also spoke to not just married women in the book, but also single women in the book. So when you decided that you were going to write a book, talk about that process. Like, what inspired you to kind of put this in? This is not like a little tiny book that some people will just put out to say, I'm an author, but you put some real value into this book. So what made you decide that it was time for you to write a book?
It was my husband. I never thought I was smart. I hated book reports. The idea of writing a book was just atrocious to me. I hired a ghostwriter. I spent 3 hours with this woman and I told her my whole life story. And what came back to me was nothing of what I told her. She was like, oh, and one of this little thing was, and I couldn't, like, from when I was younger, I detested, like, I never wanted to be married. That's part of my story. I never wanted to have kids because I was cuckoo. But so it comes back and it was like, and the dress, the wedding dress that I dreamed of since being a little kid. And I was like, I can't do this.
Not authentic.
Well, it wasn't true. It wasn't me. It wasn't my voice. So I said, okay, scratch this. I've got to write the book. And so I started the process. Grant was the one who said, you need to be a voice. So he pushed me. And you know, that's what I love about love, because true love for me is someone who helps you achieve your goals and your dreams, even before you like actually have it set as that's your goals and your dreams. Anyway, long story short, I wrote the book. 7 months into it, again, Grant comes to the rescue, but not in a pretty way, but it worked. He said, how's the book coming along? And I was like, I can't sit still. I can't write books because my process is not his process. He writes down chapters and bloop, 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 and he's very organized and he shoots it off. My process is I just start writing. And then by the time I get to chapter 5, I think of another story that had to go in chapter 1. So now I stop here and I go back to chapter 1, but now I have to, like, now I can't remember where I left off at 5. So now I have to reread the whole thing, but then I see other things along the way and it's totally psychotic. And I would probably try to do Grant's way the next time, but then I would continue on. And then chapter 7, same thing. And I'd have to go back and redo the whole thing. So, but anyway, Grant said, how's the book coming along? I had a million excuses. He says, well, you're lazy and a coward. Couldn't believe it. I was like, how is he not supporting me? Until I realized that in my idea of support would have been, coddle me. And, but that's not support. That's like coddling my weaknesses so I could be insecure and continue to use my excuses. Whereas he kind of metaphorically punched me in the face, woke me up, and I was like so angry. I stayed in my house for the next month and got the book done. As a result, I felt so empowered. I was like, oh my God, I'm one of the smart people. Who knew? I wrote a book. So I rehabilitated myself in that book. And then as an added benefit, of course, people like yourself tell me how that book changed their lives. Even my executive assistant, who was with her at that time, boyfriend for 8 years, when he read the book, when he finished reading the book, he proposed to her immediately because of that book. And I hear these success stories all the time. And
what I really loved about the book, when you did talk, because I am currently single, I am divorced, but you talked about, you know, making not only just making the list of what your ideal man looks like, and not being afraid to really go into detail about that, but then imagining the woman that he's looking for and realizing that I was not in a place where I wanted to be to meet that person. So that was like a huge eye opener for me, because it took it so much further than I had read in other books and really made me think about who am I and where do I need to go, and kind of incentivized me to become the better person, because I want to meet someone much different than where I've been dating. So that was an incredible takeaway for me.
Oh, so awesome. When I had that epiphany, it was an incredible wake-up call for me as well, because when I realized that, I thought, oh my gosh, if I want the guy that I wrote down, what's he going to want? He's going to want a woman who wants him, not, I don't need you, I don't need nothing. Like who wants to be with someone who doesn't need them? Like, how good does that feel? Like you're just going to go off and do whatever, whenever, because Like, no, everyone wants to be needed, wanted, felt special. So I was like, okay, well, there's an out point. And I just looked at it, and I was at the time hanging out in bars and excessive drinking. And I was like, nope, this guy wants a family. This guy wants a wife. This guy wants to build a life with a woman, and it won't be that woman. And I had to really make a lot of life changes.